This is a short but true story about my life, starting from the moment I turned 11. Back in those days, the school system was simple and harsh. If you couldn't spell, they assumed you were thick. They wouldn't even let me sit for my 11+ exam because they told me I didn't stand a ghost of a chance. We didn't know anything about dyslexia then, it simply wasn't a word in anyone's vocabulary. This documentary is my way of explaining exactly how I defied those early expectations and went on to truly succeed in life. The irony is that, to this very day, I still find spelling incredibly difficult. In fact, left to my own devices, I can't do it at all. If it wasn't for the modern technology we enjoy today, computers, smart software, and especially the invaluable help of Hallie, these words would never have been put down, and my story would have stayed locked away. But against all odds, I made it. I built a life as a professional diver working in the North Sea, eventually becoming a supervisor with 20 years on the oil rigs in West Africa. And this is how it happened. They say school days are the best days of your life. Whoever coined that phrase never sat in a freezing 1950s classroom, tracking a piece of white chalk as it scratched 20 spelling words across the chalkboard wasn't a tool for learning. It was a firing squad. My name is Robert Acton. I was born on the 21st of November, 1948, into an era that didn't have a word for the way my brain processed the world. Today, they call it dyslexia. Back then, the authorities had a much tighter, crueler diagnosis: stubbornness. My classroom always smelled of unwashed pupils, stale sweat, rancid scalp oils from weeks of unwashed hair, and the pungent, yeasty smell of clothes that haven't seen a laundry tub in a month, and creeping anxiety. But on Friday mornings, the air felt twice as heavy. For me, struggling to make sense of the alphabet, the classroom wasn't a place of learning, it was a battleground, and my worst enemy was the weekly spelling test. While the others sat with confident smiles, pencils poised like little lances, I stared down at my blank page. To me, the letters weren't neat little soldiers standing in a line. They were mischievous, slippery things. They spun upside down, swapped places when I wasn't looking, and danced right off the edges of the paper. No matter how hard I stared, the word simply refused to behave. First word, the teacher's voice boomed, cutting through the silence like a foghorn. I gripped my pencil so tight my knuckles turned white. I tried to force the letters onto the page, but my mind scrambled them. Was it IE or EI? Did the beautiful have one L or two? With every word dictated, the panic in my chest tightened. Get it right this time, I whispered to myself, a desperate prayer. Just one. Please, let me get just one right. But my pencil dragged heavily, leaving behind a trail of tangled, jumbled attempts. I knew, even before the papers were collected, what the red ink would say. The papers were marked and handed back. There it was, splashed across the top in angry, weeping red ink, 1/10. Nearly every single one wrong. Again. The teacher's eyes locked onto me. There was no pity there, only the stern, uncompromising discipline of an era that didn't understand my dyslexia. Come to the front, lad, the voice commanded. The walk from my desk to the front of the room felt like a mile. Every pair of eyes in the classroom watched me. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. From the depths of the desk drawer, the teacher produced the weapon of choice, the dreaded rubber slipper. Heavy, thick, and unyielding. Bend over, came the cold instruction. I braced my hands on my knees, squeezing my eyes shut. I gritted my teeth, waiting for the inevitable. The impact was immediate and explosive. The rubber slipper connected with my bum, sending a blinding, white-hot shockwave of pain straight up my spine. It blimmin' really hurt. The physical pain was sharp and stinging, a burning sensation that made my eyes water instantly. I forced myself not to punch the fat fool. He was a total tyrant, and now I had to swallow a lump of humiliation in my throat as the heat radiated through my trousers. It was a pain that lingered, throbbing with every step I took back to my desk. And to this day I still cannot handle this spelling business. The impact was immediate and explosive. The rubber slipper connected with my bum, sending a blinding, white-hot shockwave of pain straight up my spine. I sat back down, gingerly hovering on the edge of my wooden chair to avoid the burning ache. I had failed the test, and I had taken the hiding. But as I rubbed my sore backside, looking down at the messy, tangled letters on my page, a quiet determination flickered inside me. The school, the teacher, and the rubber slipper might have bruised my skin, but they couldn't crush my spirit. I was just a lad fighting a battle they couldn't see, and I was far tougher than any rubber slipper. When the education system finally gave up on me, declaring that keeping me in a classroom was a waste of everyone's time, they didn't just let me go. And with my mother and father's consent they shipped me off. I was sent to Ray Castle, a Gothic fortress looming over the freezing waters of Lake Windermere. It was a merchant navy training college, nothing to do with the education committee. It was just somewhere they thought I would learn something. To an 14-year-old lad, it was like a penal colony. I had no warning, I didn't even know it existed until the heavy gates shut behind me. The air at Ray Castle was thick with history and high stakes. The entire institution was built on the ghosts of the past. Decades earlier, in 1912, the Titanic had struck an iceberg and slipped into the Black Atlantic, taking over 1,000 souls with her. That disaster had forced the world to change, birthing the global SOLAS, Safety of Life at Sea, regulations. Ray Castle was designed to train the elite, the next generation of radio officers who would hold the line between life and death on the high seas. Upstairs, the older, tougher lads were mastering Morse code, radar equipment, and the 24-hour distress frequencies that saved lives. But I wasn't upstairs. I was buried in the underbelly. I spent a year down in the sweltering, grease-choked galley, fighting an endless mountain of industrial pots and pans. The air was a suffocating mix of steam, stale food, and boiling water. In a place like that, weakness was like blood in the water. The older trainees smelled it instantly. Not a single day went by without someone having a go at me. The dawn over the camp was always freezing, but the kitchen was a different kind of harsh. I was just a young lad, barely old enough to be handling the breakfast rush, standing behind a steaming metal counter while the world outside was still pitch black. My instructions from the boss were crystal clear, drilled into my head before the first apron was even tied. 2 pieces of bacon. 1 egg. No exceptions. But that so-called students who filed into that mess hall didn't care about the rules, and they certainly didn't care about me. To them, I wasn't a person, I was just a barrier between them and a double portion. They were older, bigger, and they knew how to use their size to get what they wanted. As the queue moved forward, the demand started. Give us extra bacon, boy. Put another egg on that plate or you'll regret it. Nearly every single one of them had a threat lined up. If I followed the boss's orders, I had to face the wrath and intimidation of a line of angry, hungry young men. If I gave in to their threats, I'd have the boss to answer to. I was completely trapped, piggy in the middle in a game where I couldn't win. Standing there in the early hours of the morning, gripping the tongs with shaking hands, I just had to brace myself and face the monsters at the counter. It sounds like a genuinely intimidating situation to be thrown into at a young age, dealing with aggressive bullies when you're just trying to do your job and follow orders. It's amazing how cruel a pack of lads can be when they form a clique. They had a strict rule on their naval course: you couldn't leave the grounds out of uniform, but the local pub, the Outgate, wouldn't serve anyone in uniform. To get around it, the lads would take a rowing boat across the lake in the evening, stripping their uniforms off once they were out of sight. They dragged me along every single time, not to drink with them, but to mind the boat. While they were warm inside the pub having a brilliant time, I was left shivering in the dark, guarding their clothes. The selfishness didn't stop there. I didn't care about football, but because they wanted hot showers after their matches, I was forced down into the castle cellars to keep the old hot water boiler fired up. To top it off, they used to terrify me with stories of castles, banshees, and ghosts, intentionally setting me up just so they could hide in the shadows and pull cruel pranks on me on my way down. I was basically their servant and their target, all at once. You either became a permanent punching bag, or you learned to strike back. This Manchester lad who could handle himself well said, "I've been watching what have been going on, and he came and told me if I don't fight back he's gonna belt me around." One day in the mess hall the tables were set with little plates of red-hot Strawbridge jam. One of the bullies who had recently had a go at me was close by talking to somebody. The Manchester boy said to me, "Get that plate of jam and go up from behind him and tap him on his shoulder, and when he turns round you hit him with the plate of jam in the face." Well, smack, I did it. He went ballistic and I ran off, but after that them radio people gradually get their distance. I chose the latter. I hardened my fists, traded away the last of my childhood innocence, and learned to look after myself out of pure, raw survival. By the time I turned 15, the education committee lost their grip on me. I was legally free, and I walked out of that castle. When I go back to Manchester, I decided to go over to Liverpool to the dockyard, see if I could get a job, any job. They told me that the year they had done up there was just not recognized at all. My name was non-existent. Well, that brings us to the halfway mark of my life story. I really hope you've been enjoying listening and following along so far. Don't go anywhere, because part 2 is coming very soon. In the next chapter, I'll be taking you down into 3 years of working in the coal mines, my time in the factories as a welder, and the story of how I first got started in my diving career. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please feel free to leave a comment down below, nice ones only, of course, and I'll see you in the next part.